So Dad got a pepperoni pizza from Wegmans either today or the other day, and I believe he baked it after putting cheddar cheese on the pizza. It tastes pretty good. I spent much of today on TV tropes, particularly reading the examples sections of the articles for Dying Wraith, what the helium double hockey stick player and video game diversity potential, things along generally the most time was spent on the examples found in video games for those particular tropes. I think I listened to Max Madison's remix of Hold On by the XX at least 100 times while reading those TV tropes articles, among some others. Oddly enough, today's update in Iron Rage I thought it would include methods to get some trust research points, but it turns out that it was actually to do a repeat of the Hidden Threat event with some changes. I think the primary change is that the grant chests now have changes on what they ultimately give you. Depending on your player level. Basically, they create a series of brackets. I'm thinking of making a styrofoam out of this piece that's been in my dad's room for a long time now. Due to the rather unusual shape, I don't think I would be able to do a request for my dad on that piece. What I ultimately end up doing, we'll have to see. Luckily, it hasn't advanced that much. I wonder how much it produces now. A significant improvement, which is good. I definitely need a higher rate of making supplies given all the improvements I've made to my barracks and training grounds recently. Though I'm not sure if heavy melee is the best unit to be considering for the provinces I've ultimately unlocked. Today I ended up having to open up nearly every single key slot. And I only got that one due to this power-up. It happened, I think there were roughly 4 left. So it was a 50% chance for it to reveal where the Father Glittertree was. I'm going to see if I can finish up on this province. Oh. Something to deal with the mages. Though obviously, given how many Orc Deserter units there are, this might be a good setup. I believe the medium, after the last squad size upgrade, the medium rated encounters, or actually provinces to be more technical, still remained medium, though obviously the squad size upgrade made them considerably easier. Given how much damage the Orc Deserters do to a Cyberus unit, it's probably pretty fortunate that the Orc Deserters didn't outright destroy it. If I recall, the Orc Deserters do pretty much no damage to the heavy melee units. I'm not sure how good I am with being strategic and tactical. I make efforts to do that. I have a habit of muting my computer for some reason when I do my dinner videos these days. unless I happen to forget. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's not good. That made some room. That was a pretty bad attack. I don't have the mercenary camp yet. And I don't think you unlock that for quite a while. So that witch's hut evolvable building that I can't evolve anymore, at least for the time being, because the event for it ended a pretty long time ago. I think that was the game's Halloween event for the year. That witch's hut building is the only source of my remnant frog, so they're powerful units, so I tend to, at least powerful in the way I use them, at least in my circumstances, so there tends to be a whole lot of demand for them, not much supply. I often find myself waiting for when that witch's hut building will finish production. So I got disconnected off of the guest Wi-Fi for this apartment because a while back the Wi-Fi I was using originally kind of went on the fritz. So I started using the guest Wi-Fi, which just requires me to log back in, I think roughly every 3 to 6 hours. If I'm recalling correctly. That just happened to happen at a time when I was doing this encounter as part of completing a task for the Winter Magic event here on Elvenar. My units are I believe they're the Tridents. I did some work on the 99th Dan Hamming. I decided to stretch a scene to roughly 40 seconds temporarily to see if I can get the background to be where I need it to be in order to make a prop for a scene I added inside the Uber driver's car. Then I think once I finish up with that scene, I may make a draft on Camtasia. I found this, while I was on TV Tropes today, it was on if I recall correctly, some kind of downer, some kind of TV tropes page. I'm not sure if that was ultimately the best move. Anyway, it ended up telling me about this game I had not heard of at this point, and it's some kind of non-standard game over, or some kind of game over, or otherwise bad ending, and it having what the TV trope page described as terrifying music that ended up being 13 seconds long. The video clip was 13 seconds long. I think the audio was only 11 seconds, though. And I think, that being said, it seemed like it gave me an idea at some point to have Dan Hamming get I think maybe a used laptop, or use some kind of laptop. I think, yeah, I completed that task. I just have to wait for the the province I started scouting a while back to finish. Producing a basket of groceries will take 9 hours. And sometimes when it comes to that kind of task, you either make progress when you start such a production or when you finish such a production. Could be either one, and it'll take more time if I wait and it turns out to be after production than if I just scout a new province. Besides, doing this is heavily encouraged at this point because of this province quota right here. And I'm currently on the very last research upgrade for it. I currently have an idea for either a multicolor or rainbow colored styrofoam out of this. I had my dad listen to that sound effect with the headphones, tilting the laptop like this, kind of, but I think more maybe, but not all the way. I think maybe just roughly a quarter or the eighth of the way. That rotation. A fourth or eighth of 90 degrees, I think. And had him listen to it turned out to be Moonlight by in Hander from the official soundtrack. He suggested that I would only have to use the first 4 seconds. Of course, if I did that, then the sound effect wouldn't be clean. There really isn't a break in the audio at the 4-second mark. In fact, I don't think there's any breaks in the audio within the 11 seconds it plays, roughly. Even so, I would have to assume that you could customize the startup sound effect. And I think you can only have a startup sound effect on older laptops and computers. I don't think they give you the startup sound effect on default. If you have a relatively modern laptop like this one, I think. Dad got it for me at a pawn shop. So I ultimately don't know how new that laptop is, but it's been working strong for, I think, more than a year at this point. Okay, so Dad made me some ramen just as I was working on I was in Lunapic editing up a custom prop for the for that most recent scene in the 99 Dan Hamming. I was working on that, so in order to create the illusion that the car isn't moving, as this is the case in universe. I believe this is a beef broth of ramen. I'm going to check ultimately how much time I've got left on the scouting. It looks like it's 2.5 hours. I think it's roughly half an hour. Yeah, it's currently 6:35 p.m. So at 7, there'll be a new daily exclusive. Although, if it ends up being a new building, I may have to be pretty lucky today in order to ultimately end up getting it. And hopefully I'll soon be able to get another artifact for this building right here. While working on that Lunapic on that prop in Lunapic, I also got out these markers, as I plan on working on this new styrofoam. And I was listening to a video on 5 sounds to activate your fight or flight response. One of the sounds activated my fight or flight response very slightly for a pretty brief moment. Though I think that was ultimately because I was on the eraser tool on Lunapic at the time in order to make the margin of error as small as possible. Oddly enough, initially there was some sort of tiny noodle in between one of the prongs of the fork, and it made me think of Italian wedding, oddly enough.